Drilling at Uganda's oil production wells in the Albertine region is at peak level.
The Vice President of Uganda, Major Jessica Alupo, has launched the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Urban Development Program.
Most people still see Uganda as a quiet agricultural nation in East Africa. But behind the headlines, something extraordinary is unfolding. Across the country, billions of dollars worth of mega-projects are being built at the same time. A heated oil pipeline stretching over 1,400 kilometers across 2 countries. Gigantic dams generating power for millions. Brand new airports, expressways, industrial cities, and railways rising from the ground. Entire regions that were once remote are being transformed into energy hubs, manufacturing centers, and global trade corridors. And if these projects succeed, Uganda could soon become one of the most strategically important economies in East Africa. But how big are these projects really? And which one could change Uganda's future the most? Today, we're exploring 20 mega-projects turning Uganda into Africa's next powerhouse. Let's start with one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects ever attempted in East Africa. 1. The East African Crude Oil Pipeline, EACOP. Stretching approximately 1,443 kilometers, the East African Crude Oil Pipeline is not just Uganda's biggest project. It's one of the most ambitious energy infrastructure projects in Africa. This massive pipeline will transport crude oil from Uganda's oil fields in the Lake Albert region all the way to the port of Tanga in Tanzania, where it can be exported to global markets. But this isn't an ordinary pipeline. Uganda's crude oil is unusually thick and waxy, meaning it solidifies at lower temperatures. To solve this challenge, the pipeline will be electrically heated along its entire length, making it the longest heated crude oil pipeline in the world. Once completed, it will transport around 216,000 barrels of oil per day. The project involves thousands of workers, multiple international energy companies, and an investment estimated at around $5 billion. But the pipeline is only one part of a much larger plan. Because before Uganda can export oil, it first has to produce it, which brings us to the next massive development. 2. The Tilenga Oil Development Project. Located in Uganda's Albertine Graben, the Tilenga project is one of the 2 major oil production developments that will kickstart Uganda's petroleum industry. Operated by Total Energies, Tilenga involves drilling over 400 oil wells spread across several oil fields near Lake Albert. The project also includes the construction of central processing facilities, flow lines and gathering systems, new roads and infrastructure, worker accommodation and logistics hubs. When production begins, Tilenga alone is expected to produce about 190,000 barrels of oil per day. But building an oil industry from scratch isn't easy. Entire support systems must be built around the oil fields, including airports, roads, housing, and service industries. In fact, one of Uganda's most fascinating projects is being built specifically to support these oil operations. A brand new oil city. 3. Kabaale Industrial Park and Oil Refinery. Deep in western Uganda, near Hoima, a massive industrial hub is beginning to take shape. This is the Kabaale Industrial Park, and at its heart will be Uganda's first ever oil refinery. The refinery is expected to process around 60,000 barrels of crude oil per day, allowing Uganda to produce its own petroleum products instead of importing them. That means locally produced gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, liquefied petroleum gas. But the refinery is just the beginning. The wider Kabaale Industrial Park will host petrochemical industries, fertilizer plants, storage facilities, manufacturing zones. Essentially, Uganda is trying to turn its oil discovery into an entire industrial ecosystem. And to support this massive industrial zone, the government is also building something else nearby. A brand new international airport. 4. Kabaale International Airport. Just a short distance from the refinery site, construction is underway on Kabaale International Airport, one of Uganda's newest and most strategic aviation projects. Unlike Uganda's main airport in Entebbe, this airport is being built primarily to support the oil and gas industry. Heavy cargo planes will be able to transport drilling equipment, machinery, and supplies directly into the oil region. The airport is designed with a 3.5-kilometer runway, large cargo handling facilities, modern terminals, aviation fuel storage. Once operational, it will dramatically reduce the time and cost of transporting equipment into western Uganda. But beyond the oil sector, Kabaale Airport could eventually open the entire Bunyoro region to tourism and trade. And speaking of power and infrastructure, one of the most important pieces of Uganda's transformation is something the country desperately needs: electricity. Because without reliable power, none of these industrial dreams can become reality. Fortunately, Uganda has been investing heavily in massive hydropower projects, and one of them is already one of the largest in East Africa. Uganda's ambitions don't stop at oil, because if the country truly wants to transform its economy, it needs something even more important than petroleum: power. Factories need electricity, cities need electricity, railways, refineries, and industries all depend on it. And that's exactly why Uganda has been investing billions of dollars into one of the most important sectors of its future: energy generation. 5. Karuma Hydropower Dam. On the powerful waters of the Victoria Nile, Uganda has built one of the largest infrastructure projects in its history: the Karuma Hydropower Dam. With an installed capacity of 600 megawatts, Karuma is now one of the biggest power plants in East Africa. To put that into perspective, this single dam can supply electricity to millions of homes and businesses. But building Karuma wasn't easy. Engineers had to construct massive underground power stations, complex tunnel systems, and gigantic turbines capable of harnessing the river's immense force. The goal was simple but ambitious: transform Uganda from a country struggling with electricity shortages into one with power surplus capable of supporting heavy industry. And Karuma is only one piece of that energy puzzle. 6. Isimba Hydropower Dam. Further downstream on the Nile is another major project that has already reshaped Uganda's power grid: the Isimba Hydropower Dam. With a capacity of 183 megawatts, Isimba significantly boosted Uganda's electricity production and helped stabilize the national grid. Together with Karuma, the dam forms part of a larger strategy to turn Uganda into an energy exporter within the East African region. This means Uganda could eventually sell electricity to neighboring countries such as Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo. But producing power is only half the challenge. You also need the infrastructure to move people and goods efficiently across the country. And that's where Uganda's transportation megaprojects come in. 7. Kampala to Jinja Expressway. Traffic congestion in Kampala, Uganda's capital, has long been one of the biggest obstacles to economic productivity. The road between Kampala and Jinja, one of the country's most important commercial corridors, can take hours to travel, even though the distance is relatively short. To solve this problem, Uganda is planning one of the most transformative highway projects in the country: the Kampala Jinja Expressway. This modern 4-lane toll expressway will stretch roughly 95 kilometers, dramatically reducing travel time between the capital and the industrial city of Jinja. But its importance goes far beyond convenience. The highway will also connect Kampala to major trade routes leading toward Kenya and the port of Mombasa, which is crucial for Uganda as a landlocked country. And faster trade routes mean cheaper transportation, more investment, and stronger economic growth. 8. Kampala Flyover Project. If you've ever seen traffic in Kampala during rush hour, you know just how chaotic it can be. At major intersections, vehicles can sit in gridlock for hours. To tackle this growing problem, Uganda has launched the Kampala Flyover Project, a massive urban infrastructure program designed to modernize the city's road network. The project includes multiple flyovers, redesigned intersections, pedestrian walkways, improved drainage systems. Once completed, it will significantly improve traffic flow in key areas of the capital and help Kampala function more like a modern metropolitan city. But Uganda's ambitions don't stop at roads. The country also wants to revive something that once played a critical role in East Africa's development: railways. 9. Uganda Standard Gauge Railway, SGR. Rail transport is one of the most efficient ways to move large volumes of cargo across long distances. And Uganda is working to build a modern railway system to connect its economy to regional trade networks. The Standard Gauge Railway, often referred to as the SGR, is part of a larger East African railway corridor that could eventually link Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, South Sudan. The Ugandan section will run from the border town of Malaba to Kampala and later extend toward the oil region in Hoima. Once operational, the railway will allow cargo to move much faster and cheaper than by road. And for a landlocked country like Uganda, that could dramatically improve access to international markets. 10. Hoima to Kaiso to Tanya Road Network. Oil discoveries in western Uganda have triggered a massive wave of infrastructure development in the region. One key part of that effort is the Hoima-Kaiso-Tanya Road, a modern highway connecting oil fields near Lake Albert to major cities and industrial zones. But it's not just a single road. The project includes a network of upgraded highways designed to support oil production, heavy equipment transportation, worker mobility, regional development. These roads are already transforming once remote communities into bustling hubs of economic activity. 11. Kampala Industrial and Business Park, Namanve. Just outside Kampala lies one of Uganda's most ambitious industrial zones, the Kampala Industrial and Business Park, located in Namanve. Spanning thousands of acres, this massive park is designed to attract manufacturers, logistics companies, and processing industries. Several international and local companies have already established factories here producing everything from steel, food products, pharmaceuticals, plastics. The goal is clear: move Uganda away from simply exporting raw materials and toward value-added manufacturing. But for that transformation to happen, the country also needs stronger agricultural infrastructure. And Uganda has one huge advantage in that sector: its land. 12. Adiak Sugar Factory. In northern Uganda, a major agro-industrial project is helping transform agriculture into large-scale industry. The Adiak Sugar Factory. This facility is expected to process thousands of tons of sugarcane daily, producing refined sugar for domestic consumption and export. But the factory also brings significant economic benefits to the surrounding region. It creates thousands of farming jobs, transport opportunities, processing and manufacturing work. And projects like this help reduce Uganda's reliance on imports while boosting rural development. While energy, oil, and transportation are critical pillars of Uganda's transformation, another sector is quietly playing an equally important role: air travel. Because better aviation infrastructure doesn't just move people, it opens the door to tourism, investment, and global connectivity. 13. Entebbe International Airport Expansion. Uganda's main gateway to the world is Entebbe International Airport, located on the shores of Lake Victoria. And in recent years, the airport has undergone a massive modernization and expansion program. The upgrades include a new passenger terminal, improved cargo facilities, modern navigation systems, expanded aircraft parking areas. These improvements allow Entebbe to handle more passengers, more cargo, and larger aircraft, which is essential for a country hoping to attract more international business and tourism. 14. Kampala Jinja Expressway. Another key highway project aims to improve connectivity between Kampala and southwestern Uganda. The Kampala Expressway will reduce travel times and improve trade flows toward important towns and borders connecting to Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's part of a broader national strategy to upgrade Uganda's road network and make transportation faster and more reliable. 15. Bukasa Inland Port. Because Uganda has no coastline, it depends heavily on neighboring countries' ports for international trade. But Uganda is also building its own inland shipping hub, the Bukasa Inland Port on Lake Victoria. This port will allow cargo ships to transport goods across the lake to ports in Kenya and Tanzania, reducing congestion on road networks. It's a key part of Uganda's strategy to diversify its trade routes. 16. Uganda Oil Refinery Pipeline Network. In addition to the main crude oil pipeline, Uganda is also planning smaller pipelines that will distribute refined petroleum products across the country and to neighboring markets. This network will help ensure reliable fuel supply while strengthening Uganda's position as a regional energy hub. 17. Bujagali Industrial Area Expansion. Near the Bujagali Hydropower plant, Uganda is developing industrial zones that can take advantage of the abundant electricity produced along the Nile. These areas are expected to attract energy-intensive industries such as manufacturing, mineral processing, heavy industry 18. Tourism infrastructure development. Uganda is often called the Pearl of Africa, a phrase famously used by Winston Churchill. And the country's tourism sector is expanding with new investments in national park lodges, conservation infrastructure, transportation access to remote attractions. Destinations like Bwindi Impenetrable Forest, home to the famous mountain gorillas, are becoming increasingly accessible to global travelers. Tourism is now one of Uganda's fastest-growing industries. 20. Greater Kampala Metropolitan Development. Finally, one of the most ambitious long-term projects is the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Development Plan. This strategy aims to transform the wider Kampala region into a modern metropolitan hub with improved housing, transport systems, industrial zones, public services. As the population grows, this plan could shape the future of Uganda's economic heart for decades to come. From massive oil pipelines and giant hydropower dams to modern highways, airports, and industrial zones, Uganda is undergoing one of the most ambitious infrastructure transformations in East Africa. These projects represent tens of billions of dollars in investment and the potential to reshape the country's economic future. If they succeed, Uganda could evolve from a largely agricultural economy into a powerful regional hub for energy, manufacturing, trade, and logistics. The road ahead won't be easy. Megaprojects often face delays, financial challenges, and political debates. But one thing is certain. Across Uganda, the cranes, bulldozers, and construction crews are already hard at work, and the foundations of a new economic powerhouse are slowly rising from the ground. The question now is no longer whether Uganda is changing. The real question is just how powerful that transformation will become.